the smart contract side, I think there is a better set of comparables in that we had the luxury of hindsight. We were able to look at how the Ethereum ecosystem built out, what types of problems people were having with smart contracts, from the accounting model to how to achieve concurrency to how to use formal verification, these types of things. And we had about 4 years to build out the extended UTXO and Plutus model. And I think in the long term, it's a superior model because it scales much better and it's much easier to verify that things work well. So you can apply the same standards that people use for aircrafts, the same standards people use for life science software like pacemakers and these things to make sure that the software runs correctly. And the marketplace will ultimately decide what they like more. The good part of Ethereum is that it's kind of a giant aggregation point of a lot of really bright people and a lot of great dialogue. So it led to the rise of the DAO movement, it led to the rise of the ICO revolution, and in many ways a lot of the cool things that we in this industry know, love, and treasure. So it almost reminds me of Frank Lloyd Wright. He was a very tough boss to work for. And so he would give new architects who'd come on board the impossible house to design. He'd give all these weird requirements. And they would spend weeks and weeks and weeks writing up the blueprints, and eventually they'd show them proudly and say, "We figured it out." And then he'd look at it and say, "Oh, that looks great." And then he'd burn them right in front of them. And then they're like, "Oh my God, I've worked weeks on this." And he says, "Well, now that we know it can be done, let's decide how we want to do it." And that's really the difference between Ethereum and Cardano. Ethereum is the first set of blueprints. It's a second generation, and it really has given the entire industry a great set of business and design requirements. And we've had the luxury to be able to stand on those shoulders and build better. And Ethereum itself is trying to stand on its own shoulders and build better. And we wish him well. If I was Vitalik, I would have just embraced Polkadot and made that Ethereum 1.5. It's a much better, easier path to get to what they want, but they decided to go for everything, sharding and all these other things, and it's going to be very. And Ethereum itself is trying to stand on its own shoulders and build better. And we wish him well. If I was Vitalik, I would have just embraced Polkadot and made that Ethereum 1.5. It's a much better, easier path to get to what they want, but they decided to go for everything, sharding and all these other things, and it's going to be very challenging.
Do you feel a little bit responsible for that success, as you were a co-founder in the beginning?
I wasn't there that long. I was only there for 6 months, and people love making it bigger than it is. I mean, I've been working on Cardano since 2015. And we've written 140 papers, 1 million lines of code. We have 3.5 million people in the community. Been to 72 countries in the last 7 years. And so that is what I hope defines me in the time that I've spent, not the rivalries of the past or brief. Regulation through enforcement is the worst possible thing to do. You have this monster of the week scenario of, well, who are they going after next? And there's material facts and circumstances aren't too different between a lot of these projects. What needs to happen is the legislative branch needs to step up and lead. They need to pass a law, and they need comprehensive crypto reform, and we need to focus on basic definitions. So we need to look at things like, what is the definition of decentralization? Everybody says they're decentralized, but there's 10,000 projects, and everybody's a little different in terms of who's in charge and how things work. We need a consumer protection bill of rights, a crypto user's bill of rights to define what rights you have, what rights you don't have if you use a cryptocurrency, these types of things. And I think that helps create the clarity that we need to move forward. I mean, you can't have a situation where if a political administration changes, the entire regulatory regime changes. That's why countries in the developing world never get direct foreign investment. Because people are always worried, well, if the guy at the top goes crazy or gets replaced, every contract we have, every deal we have, every understanding we have commercially, and I mean, look at Venezuela, pre-Chavez, post-Chavez. Pre-Chavez, a super wealthy nation, great place to be an oil producer, post-nationalizes the whole business. So one person can make a dramatic difference if you rule by executive fiat or you regulate through occasional enforcement here and there, either aggressively or in a laissez-faire way. So the industry needs to change. Now, do I worry? No, not really. I mean, Cardano is a completely decentralized ecosystem. There's, as I mentioned, over 3 million people. There's 15 plus firms that work on core development. It's on the basis of peer-reviewed research, which is intrinsically decentralized. I mean, you look at these other projects, they have these heroic efforts of small teams of highly hyped scientists. Here, it's like faceless. There's graduate students, postdocs, professors all around the world. So if that doesn't meet the definition of sufficiently decentralized, oh, by the way, over 3,000 stake pools, less than 10 mining pools control Bitcoin. then I don't know what does. And it would be a catastrophe for the industry to go down those roads. But it's any given Sunday right now. This is a difficult regime to deal with, and we're just working our way through it as an industry. Hopefully, though, the better angels of our nature will prevail, and we have things like the Financial Innovation Act, HR 7614, and also the Biden executive order does seem to be a bit more reasonable about things. And so I think they're going to kind of collide together, and in 2023 it's very likely we'll see some reform that will add clarity that we need in the industry. It could fall considerably and cut in half, but long term I think the prospects are quite good. But you have to understand the relationship between the bears and the bulls. The bull market is a time for mass acquisition of people, brings many new people in. So this last bull market brought in the artists and the celebrities and the musicians because of the NFT revolution. And there was just this humongous wave of adoption and enthusiasm that I've never seen before. And some of it was quite positive, and some of it was a little strange. Like it's like the past is the future again. So you have Moses come down with the tablets, and he sees the golden bull. And then you go to Bitcoin Miami in 2022, and they literally have a golden bull outside. You're like, okay, I guess we're doing this again. So you see a little bit of that. But the bear market is actually much nicer for us as builders because people are much more collaborative. They tend not to be looking for a land grab. The poaching disappears, and you get to the business of building, and people really focus on technology. So the last bear market set up the bull market of 2021, and there was 2 years of building to get to that. So whether this lasts 6 months or 2 years, it doesn't really matter. People are sufficiently capitalized that great things can be done. And I'm really looking forward to the next wave because we have things like quantum resistance coming, recursive snarks coming, and dozens of other foundational technologies that will make crypto much better, much more secure, and ultimately much more useful to a lot of people. So the next wave, probably you'll see 1 billion people around the world using it. So this is really our opportunity to put our nose to the grindstone, collaborate, work as an industry, and hopefully get a lot of housekeeping done from standards and interoperability. We kind of need our Wi-Fi moment, our Bluetooth moment to get everything to work together, and also legislatively to get laws passed that help solidify the industry and standardize and protect people for the next bull run that comes, whenever that is.